Hi everyone, I'm Kim Zito, Program Director for Public Art here at NEFA, and welcome to this Public Art for Spatial Justice video series. Here we go. Yeah, so this video is going to provide a deeper dive into the narrative questions to help you understand what our reviewers are looking for. And for an introduction to the Public Art for Spatial Justice Grant opportunity, or NEFA's online grant portal and the PASJ application itself, I recommend checking out the other two videos that are on the grant page. So let's go ahead and dive in. What are we looking for in the application? Maybe actually a good place to start is just to remind you what PASJ is funding. We're looking for Massachusetts-based artists and community-based anchor organizations in Massachusetts that are working in collaboration with artists to create public art in Massachusetts that helps us to see, feel, experience, and imagine spatial justice now, while we are still on this collective journey towards realizing more just futures for our public spaces and public culture. So we're looking for projects that are relevant to place and space and people of that place and the people of that place, and also projects that are rooted in community and practice integrity throughout the process and presentation of the work. You can learn more about the funding criteria in the introductory video with my colleague Maria, or you can visit the website at www.nefa.org/create-spatial-justice. Okay, that was my brief intro. Let's actually dive into the narrative questions now. So the narrative questions are a really important place in the application where you can help our reviewers get to know the vision and intentions for your project. I'll walk you through each question and share a little bit more of the context for the questions that we're asking. Oh, also before I dive in, I should just reiterate a helpful tech tip from the tech tip video. Since our online grants portal doesn't autosave, hit the save button often, and artists have shared that it's helpful to draft your responses in a Google Doc or a Word document. And when you're ready, copy and paste the text directly into the application on the grants portal. Okay, that was my PSA for this video. So the first question, please describe the project that you're proposing and why are you interested in creating this project? And more specifically, why now? So we're looking for you to share with us a clear vision and intentions for this work. We want to know what is it that you're setting out to make? And we want to understand your intentions for making or implementing this project at this moment. One of our funding criteria is relevance. We want to understand the context of your public art making. Why this project? Why now? Why are you, as the lead artist or the lead organization, interested in leading this public art making in this particular place? It's also good to note that one of our priorities for the Public Art for Spatial Justice Grant is to support projects that are disrupting harmful historic narratives, that uphold structural inequities, that are decolonizing and or indigenizing spaces, and or centering Black, Indigenous people of color, creating, imagining, expressing in public spaces. If this is applicable to your project, this may be a good place to talk about how. Okay, so question number 2, where are you planning to implement this project and why here? Please tell us about your relationship to the people and place where you're implementing this project. So at NEFA, we believe context is important to public art making, and that public spaces aren't just blank canvases for art making. Being in relationship with communities and place can help us reimagine how public art making may foster more just futures for our public spaces, rather than reinforcing or perpetuating spatial injustices. Again, we want to hear more about the relevance of this project as it relates to your relationship to place and your relationship to community, that the communities that are centered in this work. Also, one of our priorities is to support projects that may be rooted in rural communities and or rooted in places where folks are experiencing or have experienced displacement. If this is applicable to your project, this is probably a good place to tell us more. Okay, question number 3. So this is a double question, depending on how you're applying. If you're a community-based anchor organization, you'll want to answer the first question. If you're an artist or an artistic collaboration, you'll want to answer the second question. So I'll start with the community-based anchor organizations. Tell us how your organization is uniquely poised to lead this particular project. Why have you chosen to collaborate with this particular artist for this project? So our reviewers are trying to understand the relevance and integrity of your organization's relationship in this place with the artists you've chosen to work with. Although we really try hard to have diverse reviewers who know a lot about communities across Massachusetts, sometimes it's hard to see below the surface and understand the relationships that upholds the end product. We're valuing both process and product in this program. So as organizations working with artists, we want to be sure that you are aware of the positional power your organization has, both within a community and with the artists you may be collaborating with. Does your organization have the trust of the community and the artists that you're working with? How are you keeping your process transparent? Is there reciprocity in your relationships with community and with the artists that you're working with? These are all some things to think about as you think about how your organization may be uniquely poised to lead this project. And for artists who are leading this project, we want to know about your artistic practice. Why are you uniquely poised to lead this project, this particular project? If this is a collaboration between 2 or more artists, please share why you've chosen to work together. Similarly, our reviewers are trying to understand the relevance and integrity of your artistic practice and working relationships in this particular project. They want to know about your artistic practice and how you collaborate with your creative collaborators. What positional power are you holding in your relationships with community and fellow creative collaborators? How is your creative practice developing a culture of trust, transparency, and reciprocity with community and creative collaborators that you're working with? Also, there are other ways to demonstrate this in your application. You can include letters of support from community and or collaborators. This isn't required by any means, but it is an option. It's available there for you. And you can also think about how your budget speaks to transparency and reciprocity. Okay. So next up, we have question number 4, public art practices that reduce people, place, and stories to tools for art making are harmful. Reviewers are looking for projects that build trust, accountability, and reciprocity, and honor the integrity of the people, places, stories, and ideas, past, present, and future, engaged in the art making. To whom is this project accountable? Our questions may seem a little repetitive here, but we are trying to understand integrity here. We aren't trying to fund projects that look like justice. We want to fund projects that are embodying more just ways of being throughout the whole art making process. So as we talk about the context of public spaces, who is this art making accountable to? How will you know if it's a success? And is a success to whom? And how will you know if there are unintended consequences? These are all things that you can think about as you think about to whom this project is accountable to. Okay, so our next question is an easy one. Please outline the project work plan, and timeline. So as you know, we've expanded the grant period to up to 2 years to help reviewers understand your plans for this time. We'd love for you to outline uh, how you see this project playing out over this time. And just a reminder that projects may be completed in less than 2 years. And although we've expanded the timeline and funding amounts, we are not looking for artists to do twice as much, but rather we hope artists will be able to move with care, intentionality, and at a more sustainable pace in the art making process. So we want to see that reflected in your project work plan and timeline. It will also be good to think about how this timeline aligns with your budget. How are you compensating collaborators in this work and fairly valuing your own time in this work? Okay, last but not least, our last question is an optional question, and you also have the option to include a video response. So priority will be given to projects that are led or co-led by Black, Indigenous people of color, rooted in community, and or disrupt harmful historic narratives. So please take a moment to review the Public Art for Spatial Justice grant page for a fuller understanding of our funding priorities. But thinking about these funding priorities, we also acknowledge that the people reviewing your applications are likely to have gaps in their understanding or knowledge about the context of your work. So please share any other information that you think would be important to fairly assess your application. In addition to your written response to this question, you may also choose to submit a short video of up to 3 minutes responding to this question. So if you got everything you need to say in the questions, truly do not feel obligated to answer this question. But if you feel like you need more space to help reviewers see the alignment with your project and our funding criteria and priorities, this is the space to do it. And the last tip that I have for you is you'll notice there are character limits for all the narrative responses. These are character limits with spaces. So you can, when you're in a Word doc, you can do the word count, but make sure you're looking at the word count. That's character limit or character with spaces. And please do not feel the need to fill all the space. It's there for you if you need it to help our reviewers fairly assess your application. And our motto is really more with less. Don't feel like you have to fill the space just to reach the limit. Our reviewers will be thankful for your clarity and brevity. Great. So I think that covers our overview of the narrative questions for the Public Art for Spatial Justice grant. I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, feel free to visit the grant page at www.nefa.org/create-spatial-justice for more information on the application deadlines and office hour signups. Or you could email us directly at publicart@nefa.org. And you can also check out the other videos in the series that focuses on an introduction to the criteria and priorities, as well as tech tips for navigating the grant application in our grants portal. Thanks for watching.